All right, everyone that watched this video for Tuesday, June 4th. I'm starting off with something a little bit different today because I really think I can help some people, right? And this isn't me taking a shot. I'm not a better trader, better chartist, or anything else than anyone else, right? So I'm not trying to battle anybody. I think there's a great lesson here, though, and I'm going to share it real quick, and I'm going to go right into the watch list. But I'm showing you RBZ daily candles. I've scrolled over, so the last day you're seeing on this chart is May 3rd, right? Decent little volume spike for this stock. Trying to take out the highs of this 799. Intraday, it went to 809. So on May 3rd, there's a guy who, and this is my biggest issue, is a guy who uses what I call language of certainty, right? You can go back and see a bunch of tweets, right? RBZ creeping to the close, 8 plus for the close, double digits fireworks next week. Now, if this was just any schmuck, most people wouldn't listen. But this is somebody with like 18,000 followers, and in my opinion, he has 18,000 followers because he's what I call a serial poster. He posts like 1,000 charts a week or something, right? So I'm going to slide this over and show you with the chart that I saw posted on StockTwits. This was it. This was his proof that it's going to double digits next week. And again, he used language of certainty, right? He doesn't say maybe double, he just double digits next week. 8 plus for the close. All right, so why do I point this out? Not to say, oh, this idiot was wrong, right? We can scroll over now, and well, if you can see what it did, that was the high point right there. And so now it's roughly half of where it was with all these great claims. Now, everybody does this. You see people posting, hey, this one's going here, this one's going here, and that's fine. And what bothers me is I see people posting like that got stuck in RBZ, in my opinion, because of that language of certainty, and somebody with 18,000 followers, and they post 1 million charts, so they must be good, right? So I see people still asking this guy, hey, can you rechart RBZ for me? Where's it going? And it just, that's emblematic of somebody who is newer and thinks somebody can look at a chart and tell you where it's going. See, the only reason I'm bringing this up is I'm trying to help people to keep from listening to language of certainty, right? If somebody tells you RBZ is going to double digits next week, if they say it like that, and they say 8 plus by the close, they don't say, I hope it's going to be 8 plus by the close. They don't say, I hope it'll be double digits. That's totally different to me. They just say it with certainty, right? And they post all these charts. What happens is people that don't know what they're doing yet pile in because they've been told with certainty that's where it's going. Now, whose fault is it that this person is, in it from whatever, 8 something, and losing money and still holding? It's an easy question. It's the person who put their money to work on RBZ, right? The point I'm trying to make is, if you're newer, because I used to do this, by the way. So this isn't me calling anybody an idiot either. I used to do this. I was a new trader, and I'd see somebody who I assumed was a good trader because they're all over. They got a ton of followers. They post 1,000 charts a day, right? And they say something like XYZ is going to 10. I'm putting everything I have into it because they sound so certain and they know way more than I do. So I'm hoping at least one person, maybe 1,000, I would love it if 1,000 people hear this and just think next time. If you see somebody saying, this stock is going to this price, I hope my voice pops in your head and says, you know what, that person doesn't know. It might go there, but they're not your friend, okay? They're not your friend. And I still see people, because of that certainty, every now and then asking this person, hey, what do I do with my RBZ, right? As if he knows. So anyway, I'm trying to save some people from the same mistakes these people are making and the same mistakes I used to make, right? So what do I do now? I log in every day in cash. And I wait for intraday setups based on, stocks that are in play. Take those low risk setups, scale out if I'm right, get out quickly if I'm wrong, and I just back to cash before the closing bell again. All right. And I'm not suggesting everyone should trade that way. There's nothing wrong with swing trading. I am suggesting, remember this. If somebody tells you XYZ is going to this price next week, they're not looking out for you. And if it turns out later they were right, it doesn't matter. They didn't know. They got lucky. All right. Anything can happen. Okay, so what am I watching for tomorrow? After all that, let's glance at the SPY. It's still kind of trying to roll over, so there's nothing real pretty here. I don't see any great support. Some people might look back to this gap down on March 8th. where it bottomed out at 272.42. And they might think that's some support. I have no idea, right? I just log in every day and trade what's in front of me. But it's not so pretty right now. But there's headline risk on both sides, right? I wouldn't be comfortable going long or short overnight right now in this market when one tweet can send the market one way or the other. So ELTK, as crazy as this move was from under 2 to over 11, is actually one of my favorite charts going into tomorrow. Massive declining volume, if you will. Look at the declining volume. And you got those 2 red days. I would still like it even more down here. But in a way, I like it where it is because, and I don't mean as a random buy. I mean if it gives me a low-risk intraday setup tomorrow, for a day trade. But I kind of like it where it is more because if you get down here in between the blue and the red line, which we call this the buy zone on any time frame, after a strong move, pull back to this, what I call the buy zone. But if you get down here, it's kind of getting close to a round trip, right? Because it shot up so far and so fast and it's coming down pretty quickly too. And I'm just glancing. I don't use fibs, but this looks, fairly close to a proper retracement where, I'm still kind of bullish on it if we get a low risk setup. So anyway, ELTK, potential bounce tomorrow. I like that one. SOLY, after the massive move that topped out at $29 even. The next day, lower high. Next day, lower high. The next day, lower high. And you're getting close to that buy zone, by the way. And remember, this one started below 6. So you're getting close to a gap fill. I'm kind of interested in a 14 flush tomorrow because that is in the buy zone. It's also at the gap fill, and it's a whole number flush. So if it does gap down or come down here tomorrow in this area, I might be looking for an intraday reversal. But I am watching SOLY for a turn back up. TLRY. This one's very obscure, and there's nothing pretty here. And I like oversold stocks just for an intraday bounce. But if I zoom in, you can kind of see how this is accelerating, right? You can see the accelerating volume. I really don't deem this as what I call proper shape change yet, but I am going to start watching it for a bounce tomorrow. Remember, I'm just looking for a one-day intraday bounce, especially if there's some kind of news or something. Shorts could get caught off guard just for a day trade for longs, but there's nothing pretty there other than it's kind of accelerating to the downside. All right, so keep that in mind. OTLK to me is still just after this pop, still just in this sideways flag, topped out just below 3. I kind of like it over today's high, which would be a break of 295. That might push us through the whole number 3, and then you have a couple catalysts above, right? 321 and 336, and then you're kind of breaking out. So I do want to keep that one on watch. OBLN. I don't love this. You see some topping tails here, but it's kind of interesting because if we go to an intraday basis, excuse me, this is a pretty nice move, right? These are 5-minute candles, and it went from 118 to 158 in 10 minutes. That's a pretty good move, and just kind of grinded sideways and a little bit down after that. So I do want to keep this one on watch. WKHS, nice little volume spike today. Up into resistance though, this 180 area. They hit 185 here, it hit 184 here. Certainly over that area it might go, but it's also extended in the short term. They did have a decent little news pop today, so keep my eyes on that one. ABIO, former massive mover, and it's grinding down, almost a round trip. And this is what I mean. When they get to where they've almost round tripped, each subsequent pop is usually slapped right back down. This did make a nice intraday move from 553 to 888, right up into that 200-day before reversing, which, by the way, if you're ever in something like this and it's moving and the 200-day isn't far away, it's never a bad idea to kind of view that as a potential target. You still want to protect the downside always. Kind of closing in the middle of its range, so I do think it's worth watching for tomorrow. VISL, this big volume spike, still barely 1 million shares, so that is important to note. This is a very thin stock. Matter of fact, some of these days back here, 1,000 shares, 5,000 shares, 1,000. So I mean, it's a really thin stock. Also kind of made a run at the 200-day, didn't it? Anyway, closing at 297 on strong volume. We'll see if it has any kind of red to green or follow-through day tomorrow, but not in love with that one. NK, breaking out of a nice tight, like 3-week range, maybe almost a month range on strong volume and a fairly strong close. Let's keep our eyes on that one. And lastly, GTXI, which even the daily chart doesn't look terrible, right? You had this pop back here and it's kind of worked its way back up there. But the reason I have it on watch is because in after hours, it popped up through $1.70 on news. But as I'm babbling right now, it's trading at $1.44, so we might not who knows, by the open we might not be looking at a gap up at all, but I am going to watch if it's gapping in the morning for a potential gap and go. That's plenty to watch. Again, down below there's a link to a almost 40-minute clip from our trading course, so please go check that out. There's no catch. It's just free. It's just one example of how we play morning gap plays. If you like the low price, lower flow stocks like I do, simply because of the percentage moves they can make in a short period of time, we actually reveal every detail of one of our A+ setups on how we trade those. So go check the link below, check that out, and feedback's always welcome. I'd love to know what you think about it. And I'm done babbling. We'll see everybody in chat tomorrow. Have a good night.